great. Yeah. So I think our story of being here goes back some time, and actually just met the gentleman who made it happen, Jem Dajjal, and he came to in 2016. He came to our Chicago class just when we were first running our training, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come to London?" I go, "I don't know. Why not?" And then that's how I got introduced to Simon at AWA, and then kind of the rest is history. So it's a long relationship, and it's been really, really great. And we really actually have a deep connection with the people here. We've given, I think, many meetup talks, and it's just been part of our kind of a worldscape until COVID happened, and then we did things virtually and so on. All right, so just want to pause for gratitude for that. Okay, so let's just talk about where we're going. From self-deception to self-mastery. So when you see those words, you will probably guess, I mean, hopefully I can warn people about this, that it has something to do with yourself, right? Like, we're not talking about how you go fix other people, and it's something to do with yourself. And so that's what the second line is pointing to, a roadmap to being your own hero. So we're going to give you kind of what we're all about evolutionary leadership and how do we evolve. And so we're going to give you a powerful element of the engine of evolution. So it's something that has come in over the last, I'd say, I don't know, six months or so. And it came in this understanding, this deeper understanding of self-deception. We keep on evolving the work and getting new information. And this came in because I started to look at, well, wait a second, where am I actually not fully living and using the teachings that we have around leadership? Where am I in self-deception to not fully use the tools that I have at my disposal to become a better and better leader? So that's kind of where this all started, is a really powerful, deep look at myself to come into what we call inner integrity, where I was really looking at how it's showing up. So that's how this whole thing came about. So a little bit of pun here, how we evolved to be, which is the new name of our organization, the heroes of our lives. And that's why we have this picture of a superhero. The idea is how do we move from this place of, unfortunately, creating ourselves to be victims, where we're in this situation and we're struggling and somebody else is causing this problem for us. And we actually, in that moment, through our self-deception, are creating a challenge for ourselves in our lives. So how do we start to become aware of that and overcome that to become the hero of our lives? Just to say a little bit more about myself, I was originally designed and maybe raised to be better at talking to machines than talking to people. And that's why I went through engineering and got a master's in computer science, did half a PhD in artificial intelligence and robotics, and I published papers in the field. And so then at some point I thought, well, geez, all this academic stuff, it's not very practical. I mean, it is now, but I mean, this was in the 90s, right? So so I think I had a correct read on that situation, that it might take a while to get there. So what happened? So I actually had to get a job. So I started working as a software developer, and very, very early on got involved with Agile, just as kind of how to do things. And then I kept on going, and I realized, well, wait a second, Agile doesn't work unless you have a healthy cultural environment and healthy leadership system. It's really, really almost impossible to get Agile working. And so then I went and looked at, well, how do I help these leaders? And then I said, well, Michael, you can't help these leaders. You are a well-intentioned asshole. So I realized, okay, wait a second. Yeah, I got to do something where I look at myself to say, well, how am I showing up? Am I showing up in a way to create the change and have the impact that I want to have on the people around me? And that led me on this profound leadership journey. And a side effect of my whole leadership journey is understanding, how do we work with organizations? How do we create extraordinary change? How do we unlock the people around us? How do we hack our leadership to become more and more successful, more of the person we want to be, the leader we want to be, the coworker we want to be? So that's really the perspective. And I say this approaching consciousness or mindset from this engineering and scientific perspective. I say engineering because it's well, I'm going to run experiments on my own nervous system. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to study all around the world with different teachers, and then I'm going to test these new ways of functioning and seeing things on myself, and then we'll start testing. Then I tested on Audrey, or she tested stuff on me, and then we tested it on our students. So That's what we're sharing with you. Audrey, do you want to say a bit about yourself?
I don't like these. Okay, so my role is a little bit different. I'm not really great with computers and machines, but I am more interested in people. So my background started in body work, in wellness and healthcare. I have various degrees and certifications in things like massage therapy and personal training and yoga and meditation and all these different things. But what started to happen was I started getting interested in the psychology of disease, and it led me on a very strange and unusual path, which was that I became an energetic healer, and I worked on a medical team in Chicago for 5 years, and I had a lot of success with healing people. And what happened was that even though, you can heal somebody from disease, what was going on was that it wasn't sticking. And it wasn't sticking not just because their lifestyle, but it was because whatever was the root cause of the disease, while I knew what it was, they didn't know what it was, and they weren't working actively on it. And some perfect case studies, somebody came in, they had brain cancer. They came to see me, and then I never saw them. And I didn't know what happened. And 10 months later, they came back, and I was like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, where have you been? And she's like, oh, well, I went back to get tested after I saw you a month later, and either the cancer was gone or they misdiagnosed me. And they didn't know which one. And I said, oh, that's great. You got healed, like, but why didn't you come back? And she said, well, I was fine. And I was like, oh, well, why are you here now? And they said, because the cancer's back. And I was like, where have you been for 10 months? So I wanted to know what was going on. And this is sorry, it's a longer story, but it took me to India. It took me to study consciousness. It took me to study like what is happening with our thoughts and our belief system, what's happening in the neurological system that we have that's creating disease. And I just had some really profound experiences in my own healing and my own journey that led me to decide, well, this is kind of the fastest way to heal humanity. How can we, or how can I help in that process? So what I'm doing here is I'm bringing that aspect into our work, and you'll see a little bit of it here today, and that's it.
All right.
Should I
So
throw this back to you?
yeah, you
I'm
can
just
do
going to
that.
put it right here.
That's fine. So thank you, Audrey. So let's just tie that in with self-deception, right? So what Audrey's saying is that when we start to become aware of the stuff that's there that we're not paying attention to, and we pay attention to it, then we can shift it. So we can shift out of the toxicity that we might be admitting to the environment. And that might be a strong word. It's like, I don't admit it. I don't admit any toxicity, right? And then there the self-deception starts to begin. I'm fine. It's all those other people, right? So you might want to start watching what's happening with the thoughts in your head. This doesn't apply to me. That you might even have thoughts in your head like, oh, well, that's kind of crazy talk. Sure, she worked a medical team, but I believe in science, and unless it's shown, and right? And you might go like, oh, right? And you might actually notice there's that part of you that says, I'm afraid of believing something different. I'm afraid of stepping outside the box of the belief system I've had my whole life and stepping into a world that goes beyond, because that's unknown. And I actually feel kind of scared and threatened by what Audrey was saying. I mean, maybe that's going on. Maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, oh my gosh, that's how reality works. This explains so much of my life. It could be either one of those, but just watch what's going on. We've written a number of books, the last two together. First of all, Agile as a Culture System, kind of step one. This is from quite some time ago. Book number two, most of us have been misinformed or lied to about how our emotions work. And unless we actually master that and know how our emotions work and know how to navigate it, it's going to be really hard to create a healthy environment, because we don't even know how to create a healthy environment for our own emotional system. Leading Beyond Change, this is about How do we shift the culture of organization? How do we create a teal organization? How do we create extraordinary change no matter what? No matter the command and control leaders above us, no matter the toxic workplace, et cetera. How do we show up and create change? So we're touching on kind of really more an element of, deeper element of this book here. So let's talk about self-deception. What is self-deception? Let's do a shout out. What is self-deception? Just shout out. Sorry? Lying to yourself. Yeah, lying to yourself. Okay, great. What else? What else do you think of? Not knowing who you are. Yeah. Okay, great. What else? What else could be self-deception? Perception. A warped perception, right? A warped perception of who we are. Great. What else is self-deception? Believing what we want to believe. Yeah, that's a beautiful one, right? No, we don't believe what's true that will help us navigate what's happening. We believe what we want to believe. Yeah, what else? Wearing a mask. Yeah, or pretending something doesn't bother us when it really does bother us. Oh, I didn't really want that job promotion, or I didn't really want to get that house. No, I mean, like, it happens all the time. Now, just think about this. Well, actually, I'm going to dive in right in. What's it like to be on a team with somebody who lies? Who isn't honest? What's that like?
Difficult.
Difficult? Painful? Well, I've got some news for you folks. You're not doing anything wrong, but it turns out because self-deception is a fundamental characteristic of the ego that we all have this egoic structure of consciousness, you are lying to yourself. That's what self-deception means. So you are on a team with yourself where you are lying to yourself. Which means if you keep on going to what's it like being on a team with somebody who lies to himself, means you don't really fully trust yourself either. And your mind might be going like, yeah, I trust myself, right? And that's the self-deception right there. You might go on to make other thoughts like, oh, this can't possibly be true. Right? Because why? Because I'm talking about the truth of what's going on, but we want to believe something different. That's what this lady over here said. That's self-deception in a nutshell. So let's just go here. Where do you see self-deception in others? And what is the impact? So we're going to ask you to do this. This is a meetup. So newsflash, you're going to meet up with other people. I'll give you the instructions, then I'll say go. But it's also optional. So if you don't want to participate, you can just remain seating. But if you do feel comfortable participating in this exercise, I'm going to say the instructions, then I'll say go. You're going to stand up. You're going to meet somebody you haven't talked to yet. So you're going to meet someone new. It's a meetup, so we'll meet someone new. And you're going to answer these two questions. My advice is one person shares first and answers both questions, and the other person listens. And then the other person shares, and then the first person listens. 1, 2, 3, go. Meet up. Hey, thanks. If you're watching the replay, this is your chance to take 30 seconds for self-reflection on what is the impact on others? Where does it appear? Where does self-deception appear? Thanks so much. Okay, you can stay where you are. Just let's do a shout out. Where do you see self-deception in others and what's the impact? Actually, we've got the cube here. So would someone like to share?
I've seen it in a friend of mine.
You can use the cube, then they can hear you.
Sorry. The one I shared with Alice was, I've seen it in a friend of mine who has a gambling problem, but is refusing to accept it. And the impact is obviously on himself and his immediate family and those who care about him.
Great. Thank you. Somebody else want to share? Okay, I'm going to toss this to you. Here you go.
I think where I see the self-deception in that is 2 points. One is when people are not their word, they don't do what they say they're going to do. Whether that's a lie, I don't know, but it's just that they don't do what they say they're going to do. But most importantly, the one that really affects me is the lack of self-expression. And the impact is that then we're not really, and I'm looking at myself because I can't look out there, but for me, when I'm not self-expressed, the impact is people don't really know what I really want to say. And I'm hiding what I want to say because I don't feel safe to say it. But then I don't have the courage to say it either. Yeah?
Yeah, so you're starting to kind of bridge that gap and start to be aware or honest with yourself of what the impact is. That's great. All right, I can throw it to you, okay?
I was thinking like a lack of accountability. So, for example, I have a lot of friends back home where it seems like no matter what they do, it's never their fault, and it's always someone else's fault. And I guess that they continue to lie to themselves and, always believe it's external factors when sometimes the problem is closer to home.
Yeah, great. So what role are they playing when we lie to ourselves like that? Hero or victim?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's a positive thing. I personally think you should kind of try and hold yourself accountable for as much as possible, because that's the only way you're going to find solutions.
Great. All right, brilliant. Thank you. All right, one more share. Here we go.
Can I share your point too? We can share it together if you like. I wanted to share this not only from me but also from my partner because there was one aspect of not just being a negative thing, self-deception, but being a positive thing. And I think Ed brought in this thing of fake it till you make it, which is a good thing. So that is self-deception, but doesn't it work out for the better of the person? I think anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, just that I'm always contrarian.
Thank you. Yeah, so fake it till you make it. I mean, maybe we do that on the outside, but the question is whether we're lying to ourselves or not, right, about that. If we say, yeah, I don't have that skill, but I'm going to bluff my way because it's a good choice in this situation, that might be a good choice. But if we're honest, but if we try to pretend we know how to do something we don't, we can put ourselves and other people into harm's way. All right, can you take your seats? We'll continue on. Yeah, and thank you for the contrarian view. I'm happy for people to challenge. All right. So Taylor Swift. Raise your hand if you listen to Taylor Swift. Anyone Taylor Swift fans out there? Okay, I actually do not listen to Taylor Swift, but she's this mega pop star, like huge. And this is what kind of like really, I'm old, but like I'm in my 50s, right? but the younger generation, like my nieces and so on, are listen to Taylor Swift, and it's like wait a second, there's actually some really amazing messaging that the younger generation, relative to me at least, is resonating with. So let's just listen to what Taylor Swift has to say about self-deception. Here we go. So let's look at the lyrics a little bit. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. So if we think about self-deception, this is not self-deception. This is inner integrity. This is self-honesty. This is when we stop lying to ourselves and we say, wait a second, the problem in this situation is me. Now, what's hard about this? Right? Our ego, we don't like to see the truth because we start judging ourselves, and our inner critic goes, rah, 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 rah. Raise your hand if you got one of these little inner critics. Anyone have one of these? Nasty little buggers, right, roaming around? Yeah. All right, so that's just how the ego works. Like, you haven't done anything wrong. You're not broken. It's okay that you lie to yourself. Everyone does. It's okay that you've got an inner critic that's out of control. Everybody does. That's just called normal for living on planet Earth at this time. Hopefully that'll change in the future. But so when we start to become aware of, wait, this is my condition as a human being, and start to being aware of it, then we can start to navigate it and make different choices. But this is the fundamental fabric we're working with. And so because we have this inner critic, we don't want to admit the truth. But when we admit the truth to ourselves, we're honest with ourselves. Again, guess what happens? We're all on the same team now. You are on the same team with yourself, and you can actually make successful moves to create success in whatever aspect of your life you are in at that moment, whether it's your family, whether it's your workplace, whether it's your boss, your peers, it doesn't matter. It suddenly allows you to become not the victim, where we're blaming everybody else and it's their fault, but we start to become the hero of our life in that moment. That's how powerful this is. And there's this really big cue here. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. So what's that telling us? What's the superpower technology that we use? The mirror. Right? When we look in the mirror, we can see what's really happening, take an honest look in the mirror. So it's really about, with the mirror, looking at ourselves, being honest with ourselves, to move from self-deception to self-awareness. To say, oh yeah, how am I involved with what's really going on with me? So let's look at the context and the impact. Has anyone ever seen this? This just came out, it's getting much, much more popular. Agile Coaching Wheel. We could just replace the title and say like leadership wheel, right? It doesn't really matter. We're talking about how do you show up and become effective. You can Google Agile Coaching Wheel if you've never heard of this. It's kind of a cool thing. And we're looking at this and say, well, what's the important thing for being successful? And there are a lot of words here, but it's kind of right here in the middle, right? It's actually the only really important bit. Once you have self-mastery and you have inner integrity with yourself, then you'll get the skills. That's not the hard part. Most of our lives in our society, we've been raised and educated. Like if you think about most of you have been, who here is educated and has graduated at least high school? Probably everyone, probably university as well, right? So what percentage of your education was on self-mastery? Yeah, like zero, right? I'm seeing a lot of people like lift, like nothing, yeah. So if you think about it, it's like we've been indoctrinated our whole lives to ignore the most important thing that determines our success. And you can tie this into things like EQ. It's a learnable skill. That would fall under self-mastery, right? Our intelligence is fixed. Education, we can just learn whatever we need to learn. We're in a changing world. It doesn't matter what we know. We're constantly learning new things that we need for our job. So it's not the knowledge, intelligence fixed. It's what we do with what we have. That's what self-mastery is. So it's about how to access our full resources as a human being. Now, this is us, right? This is kind of us in our society, this is traditionally, and something's going on. We've got a problem with some other person. We're in some challenging situation, and where do we focus? Look, this person's like really paying a lot of attention outside, right? To the external situation, the other people involved, right? It's them. They're the problem, not me. But you see there's this little voice inside saying, well, hey, there's something here you may want to pay attention to. And what is that little something? It's our internal state of functioning, my state of being, my perceptions, my actions, right? And we start to be honest about what's happening with ourselves and start to become aware of it, then we can take action. Yeah, I'm going to give you a little sample. I'll do a little bit of pressure just so they can experience that. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So Audrey's co-piloting. She's actually, if you've done pair programming, it's like you're the driver and the navigator. She's the navigator, making sure that everything goes in the right direction. So let's just do a little exercise. Again, this is optional. If you're going to participate, step 1, put everything down. Step 2, put your feet flat on the floor. Step 3, sit up straight. Step 4, close your eyes. Step 5, take 3 deep breaths. And what I'd like you to do is just think about a situation where you have to get something done, like something important, maybe for work or it could be in your personal life. Just think about all the details of that, a place where you really need to get something done. And just kind of remind yourself of all the details. And what I'd like you to do is you're thinking about this situation and really kind of living and being there and remembering all the stuff. Just notice what it feels like in your body right now. Just notice the physical sensations in your body. You can't kind of make them go away. Just pay attention. Just acknowledge them and say, oh yeah, this is here, this sensation in my body. Is it like a tightness? Is it like a crunchy feeling? Is it, where in your body is it? Just notice that sensation. And just kind of bookmark this, is that when I'm thinking about the situation where I have to really get this thing done, this is what it feels like in my body. This is your awareness of your state of functioning. And now just take a deep breath in and out, and let go of that, let go of that. And now think of a really, really great experience. Someplace where, maybe you're on a holiday, it was really pleasant, you're really relaxed. It could be a beach, it could be a forest. Just think about that situation for a moment. Take a few deep breaths as you're imagining being there. And just notice, what does your body feel like here when you're on vacation? Yeah. It feels very different. And just bookmark that. And take a deep breath in and out. And open your eyes. Come back to this room. And now you're feeling like, wow, it's feeling really late. And you're feeling your whole day kind of leveling out. So yeah, so just maybe wiggle your body a bit and come back. So does anyone want to share what they experienced? Have they noticed a contrast or difference between kind of having to get things done and delivering and when you're on holiday?
Hello. Yeah, I mean, so I've just spoken at an event, like not as important as you, obviously, but a lot of preparation and planning and thought went into it, and it was late nights and lots of planning, and I think my body felt quite heavy when I was, I guess, meditating then, and then to my happy place was, in Seville, drinking sangria with my partner. And it felt lighter. It felt kind of all fuzzy and nice. And yeah, it's mad how it can make your body feel different. It's nice.
Great, thank you. Brilliant. Someone else want to share? Go ahead.
Yep. So before delivering something, could be a speech, could be a presentation, everything, there was a lot of tension. So I could feel tension. I could remember feeling tension in my body, in my spine, rigidity, and I felt that was impeding me to give the full power. And the happy place, relaxed, enjoying the moment, being present in the moment, no expectations except being myself, through myself, with my wife. So big difference, also feeling in the body.
Yeah, so what did you feel like when you were kind of being yourself? What did that feel like?
No tension, physically much better.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. All right. So this is why are the experiences so similar? It's because we all have the same egoic structure, the same nervous system, and so what happens when we're under pressure? We feel like this, like we're kind of like really like our body's tightening up. We may feel like a constriction in our breathing, and when we're feeling like we're on vacation, we're like, woo. Like we're open and light. I mean, this is just how human physiology works. Now, what's the self-deception here? When we're under pressure, what do we say? Somebody says, we're trying to get to the deadline and we're working and all those pressure, and someone says, how are you? What do we say to them? I'm fine. I'm fine. And now the question is, do we really believe we're fine? Or are we actually admitting, it's like, wait a second, my whole body's contracted, we're aware of what's happening? Or do we actually admit to ourselves, wow, my whole state of being is compromised right now, I'm totally stressed out? That might be a really honest response. Maybe, it's not about admitting, so self-deception is not about telling everyone the truth. That's called being vulnerable. We're not talking about that here. It's a really useful skill, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the step that comes before that, which is being honest with yourself. So the invitation here is, as you go throughout the rest of your evening when you leave here and your day tomorrow, and this is a very practical tip, just be aware of your state of being and be honest with yourself. Oh yeah, I'm feeling really tense right now, or I'm feeling really nervous, or I'm getting a lot of anxiety. Like, it's okay. Like, I know my whole life I've struggled with anxiety of like just being really fearful and worrying about the future, or some people like worry about the past, and like that's just somehow how we're wired at this time on planet Earth. All right, so how many people are familiar with this, Carol Dweck's work about fixed mindset, growth mindset? Or you've heard these terms, right? So Carol Dweck said, well, We can move from, I don't know if this is going to work. Let me see if this works. That's not the right button. There we go. We can move from a fixed mindset where we're not very open to growth. We're kind of low on the growth scale, where when something happens, we think, oh, I'm stuck. Now, some people go, well, woo, I'm beyond that. I'm in a growth mindset over here, where something happens, I look at mistakes, I can learn from it, and that's really good. I mean, that's kind of the starting place. On Agile, we call that having a retrospective, or understanding what went wrong with a project, or an escape defect, or something like that. Now, there's a step beyond it, which is evolutionary mindset. So we're getting into our work from Leading Beyond Change now. In an evolutionary mindset, we're talking about how we're actually looking inside. We're overcoming self-deception. We're saying, well, what does this say about me? Right? In fixed mindset and growth mindset, we're primarily looking outward. Once we move to an evolutionary mindset, we're looking inward. Now, why is it called an evolutionary mindset? It's because this is the engine of evolution for a human being. This is the engine of evolution for you as a leader to move from victim to hero. So all of this is part of what we call evolutionary leadership. We see this as a natural evolution of servant leadership. And evolutionary leadership is very simply the choice to evolve oneself and develop the capabilities needed to evolve an organization. And the word choice is in here, kind of bolded out in this teal color, because it's critical. Until such time as you choose to create a different path for your life, nothing will happen. Right? And whether it's self-deception or any other leadership topic, this is the journey of heroes. This is the journey of saying, I am not going to be a victim of the conditioning of my life. I'm going to create a different path for myself. So it's both doing and being. So the doing side is I'm aware of my actions. I'm not lying to myself about that. And I'm aware of my state of being. And I'm not lying to myself about that. I'm not ignoring it. So if we look at you taking responsibility, it's moving from theory X, where we just get to, we blame others, we make ourselves a victim, we say, why do I have to do this? We become unmotivated. That's what happens when we victimize ourselves, when we blame others. And moving forward, it's moving to theory Y, where we're engaged, motivated. And if you think about our job as a coach or a manager, our job is minimum table stakes to show up theory Y. Right? If we're not showing up motivated, engaged, how can we help anybody else get there? But that's not the end of the journey. The journey doesn't actually stop there. And you're going to see something we haven't shown a lot of people. But the journey actually goes beyond this to theory Z. We call total responsibility for ourselves, our emotions, our energy, our beliefs and behaviors. So theory Z is self-mastery. It's the core of that agile coaching wheel. When we step into total responsibility, what does that mean? It means we're no longer going to tolerate the self-deception in our lives. We're going to, work on having inner integrity, so we're in the truth of what we are, so we can actually create a shift in all of these things to show up as a different human being, a different leader, a different parent, a different partner. That's what total responsibility is. So the spectrum keeps on going. It's not just kind of basic table stakes that we look at as positive things in our environment, but to total responsibility. That's what a high level of responsibility is. So when you choose to step into self-deception, you are actually going on a hero's journey to take control and destiny of your life. It's not a small thing. It might feel really difficult, but as you do this and you get practice at it, it becomes easier and easier. Because you'll notice when you admit to yourself you're doing something that doesn't work so well, it might hurt a little bit the first time, but then you get used to it. You say, this is the critic. I'm going to ignore that critic. All right, so self-awareness leads to self-mastery. That's why we want to overcome self-deception, because with self-awareness, it's the start of the journey towards self-mastery. Without self-awareness, overcoming self-deception, we're nowhere on this journey. So we're going to understand this through the Sahota viewer. So this is a technology we created. Am I going to draw this? Yes, no? What are you thinking? I got a flip chart over there. I can pull it up. Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put this up on the screen as well, because I'm going to put the flip chart here, but it might be harder for you to see. You want to pull it up for me? Yeah, I got my markers. All right. So what is the Sahota viewer? The Sahota viewer is your technology, your tool. Again, this is a new technology. I think maybe only, I don't know, 20 people and 30 people on the planet have ever heard this before. So let's go through that. What is the Sahota viewer? Does anyone know the Johari window? Anyone heard the Johari window? So it's an evolution and extension. That's actually kind of our superpower as a tag team wonder duo, Audrey and I, is to take existing models and amp them up so they become, I don't know, 5, 8 times more effective. So I'm going to put the diagram up so you can see it to make sure you can easily read it. So I'm going to draw it over here to kind of give you a live explanation, and we're actually going to go beyond what's on the screen. So everyone over there can see this right now, yeah? And you can see it over here. All right, great. So, so let's write the title. Sahota viewer. If anyone has a better name, I'd love to hear it. This is as good as we could come up with. Because it's not a window, and we'll explain why it's not a window. But we'll start it off as kind of a window. It's called a window because the Johari window, because it looks like a window when you draw it in like that, right? And so if we think about all the information known, there's things that are known to self, and then not known. All right? Whoops, I should write the word self here. So things in this area are known to us in this column. These things are not known to us. They're hidden from us. And then there's stuff that's known to others. And then things that are not known to others. Right? So there's a self view here, and there's an other view here, right? So yeah, so the first thing I'll say is it's not drawn to scale. This area of known to self and not known, it's actually not drawn to scale. So we're going to draw a new line in to represent where it actually is drawn to scale. So the line actually goes like this. Because 90% of what happens is not known to us. It's actually hidden away in our subconscious, right? Many of you probably have heard of the difference between conscious mind and the subconscious. Our conscious is a very limited stage of awareness that we have. So what it actually looks like is kind of more like this. And so the amount of stuff that's known to us that's actually accessible through our cognitive mind and intelligence without special tools to go look into our subconscious, that's where kind of advanced leadership work goes. We only have access to this area, what we know directly ourselves and what other people know about us. So it's actually just a very small area. Now, the problem, the big problem, is that the part that we actually admit to ourselves, this is what we can potentially know. But the part that we actually admit is true is everything you could potentially know about yourself. Do you actually admit that's true? What do you think? No, there's only like a little bit here, that you actually admit that is true. The rest of this area is, we can fill it in and call this whole area here self-deception. So there's a gap. There's a gap. You have access to this gap. When you make the choice for self-awareness, to stop lying to yourself, you can suddenly access a whole bunch of information that you actually already have. Maybe you got it in a feedback from a boss, maybe from your friend, and then you unfriended them because you didn't like what they said, because it hurt so much. We have this information, but we were not ready to look at it yet. So this is this huge area of self-deception. The other part, well, I'd actually kind of include this area here, because other people know about it, but we're not ready to ask them. Right? You could right now ask the people around you, like, what are the behaviors I have that get in the way at work or in my relationship with your favorite person? Or you could ask your kids, like, hey, where am I causing problems as mom or dad? I mean, like, the information's out there. We're just choosing not to look at it. Now, this other area here, we call our blind spot. Right? Everyone's probably heard this term. We have a blind spot. We have a huge blind spot because there's so much that happens as part of our behavior that's hidden to us. It all just happens to the subconscious. And we might only be aware of it after all. And the blind spot really is just a special case of self-deception, right? Because if we really wanted to slow down, we could become aware of what our behaviors actually are and say, why am I doing this thing? What's happening now? So I'll just give you some terms here. Self-deception, where I'm not being 100% honest with myself, like there's some sort of distortion or lie or minimization, it's not that bad, or I didn't really hurt that person's feelings, or, it's not so bad when I have this behavior pattern. I mean, there's an endless list of the ways that our mind tells stories, because our mind is a storytelling device. And then blind spot is where am I unaware of the damage I'm causing. Right, so just to clarify those terms. So the journey from anti-hero, that was the song, that's the title of Taylor Swift's song, anti-hero, to hero, is to start understanding that 90% of our behaviors, or maybe if you're really courageous as a leader, you think it's 95 or maybe 98. I mean, the journey keeps on going as you continue down the journey of self-mastery. But a lot of it is in the subconscious. So radical self-awareness or overcoming self-deception allows us to become more conscious and become the pilot of our life, right? So what happens is the subconscious is running your life on autopilot based on your conditioning, based on the circumstances when you grew up and your parents and the way you went to school and how you were told to sit in your, did you guys have to sit in your chair at school? Anyone? Right? That set the template for our whole life, right? All these experiences. So when we start to become aware of what's there, we can navigate it. We can now start to make choices that truly reflect who we are and what we want to create. So do you lead no matter what? Yes? Okay, all right. So hand in hand with this is another model. The model is called lead no matter what. And this is a powerful model that we teach in our leadership training. And let's write the title here, lead no matter what. Oh, that's a good idea. It's not a very good drawing, though, this one. It's an old one. Anyway, it's fine. All right. So lead no matter what. So what is, you say, well, I'm not a leader, I'm an individual contributor. We're all, I mean, if we look at high performance organizations, it's about having leaders at all level, right? And it's about, even if we don't care about work, we want to be a leader in our own personal life with the things that really matter to us. So lead no matter what is a very simple idea. Very, very, very simple idea. It's like, here's you. Let's draw you, and let's draw the environment you're in. Let's draw the other people in the environment you're in. Here's the environment, all the other people in the environment you're in. All right. And there's two things to be aware of. How we are impacting the people around us, and how the people around us are impacting us. You with me? So let's look at the bottom part first. We'll start with the bottom part. The bottom part is when we start to look at what's happening around us and we're honest with ourselves, there's some things that we like. Someone says something good about us, we feel good. There's a really great successful project, we feel really good. There's all these environmental stimulus that might kind of uplift us. But there are also these challenges, these debilitating things, like our boss suddenly isn't so helpful. They tell us to do this thing, they're not listening to us. Or there's this crazy project and they're not listening to the team about the deadline, or fill in the blank. Now, I'm drawing these red arrows as extra thick because one negative thing has the weight of 10 good things, right? So like these negative things, that's how our nervous system works. It takes a lot of good things to make up for one negative thing. So what this does is it takes us out, right? It triggers us. It triggers all sorts of stuff in our subconscious. We become less resourceful. We go to kind of that contracted state instead of that open, expansive state. Now, when we're open and expansive and we're, really resourced, and then we're doing good things for the people around us, and we're putting out these green arrows, and they think we're great and everything's wonderful. But when we sink into that contracted state, because we've got that project delivery due and we're under pressure, and what do? We start to put out not green, but we start to put out red. Maybe we're snapping at people. Maybe, you know, it's just our tone of a voice is a little bit off and people are like, okay, I better give this guy some space or this person some space. So lead no matter what says, well, no matter what, if we want to be a leader, we need to just be putting out green arrows all the time, 24/7, right? I mean, this is beyond humanly possible. I mean, so, but at least we're honest enough to say these red arrows are happening. We are causing damage at times. Or the easier one, this is how the environment's impacting me. This is how the pressure is impacting me. So this is what the work of leadership is. From a self-deception perspective, it's starting to be honest with yourself about what's happening. Honest with yourself about where the system is taking you out, which means you're not a leader in that moment, you're a follower. You're following the system and it's taking you down a tunnel of unproductive, destructive behavior. So we want to start to become aware of these things. As we become aware of it, then we can shift what's actually happening. So, all right, get ready, folks. Buckle up.
So again, this exercise is an invitation, and it's going to be the same thing. You'll just put everything down, sitting up straight. You don't necessarily have to close your eyes if you don't want to. If you leave your eyes open, just find a spot in front of you to gently rest your gaze so you can just focus inward. And just breathe. Just feeling your body sitting in the chair. Noticing the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe in and out. Letting go of all the talk, all of the thought. And in your mind's eye and in your memory, bring up one situation that's really bothering you. A situation where you might feel frustrated or angry, or a situation where you don't have a lot of control. A situation where maybe you're sad. And just noticing as you think about this situation and you're going through all the little bits and pieces and the details, what does it feel like in your body? Again, we're going back to the body sensation, what's happening in your internal state. And notice from this place, how are you reacting? How are you engaging with the people in this situation? How is it taking you out? How are you not showing up as your best self in this moment, with this situation, with the people? And it might not feel comfortable, because we always want to show up as our best selves. The first step is just the awareness. Are you creating damage around you? How are other people reacting to you? Are you deceiving yourself thinking, nobody knows what's going on inside of me? I'm just acting normal. Nobody knows I'm angry. Nobody knows I'm upset. Nobody knows I feel out of control or that I'm sad. And feeling what's going on in your body, the body sensation that comes with all of this. Maybe it's tightness in your chest or sick feeling in your stomach. Just breathe into it. Allow it to be there. Allow your body to speak. Just keep breathing into the sensation in your body. The way in is the way out. And as you breathe into it and recognize that that uncomfortable feeling is there, it will start to change everything. The subconscious is becoming conscious. Just keep breathing. You're safe in this moment. There's nothing that you have to admit to anybody but yourself. And take a deep breath in and out. And before you open your eyes, just wiggle your body a little bit, allowing everything to release and let go.
We're going to give you a roadmap to being your own hero. We're going to give you kind of this is your like summary, step by step. What do I do tomorrow? Takeaway. This is the roadmap. So it's 4 steps. Your roadmap to success. So step 1, identify a situation where you're struggling. Right. So whenever you want to create success out of or elevate the success of whatever's happening, you just pick a situation where you're struggling. So that's kind of the first thing. Oh yeah, you admit to yourself, truth, I'm struggling here. Step 1. And when you're 100% honest with yourself, what is really going on with you? And this is where it's just about being honest with yourself. You don't have to admit this to anyone, but what's happening in your body. You can just close your eyes and breathe. What is the negative dialogue going on in your head? What are you afraid of? You know, we're concerned about how other people perceive us or about failure, and where there's all this negative storytelling about the future. Just start to admit it. Because as Audrey said, when your eyes are closed, when you acknowledge it, the unconscious, the stuff that we're ignoring and denying, becomes conscious, and then it loses its power over us. This is how you gain your freedom from your subconscious to take control of your life, to become the hero of your life. And just notice, how is this impacting your ability to create successful outcomes? You start to acknowledge it and admit to yourself, well, wow, when I have all this negative dialogue, this is what it's doing to me. Right? When my body's all contracted, this is what's happening. And then step 4, what help do you need to get your game on? Sometimes in our classes, we don't use this anymore. It's still true though, but we don't use it anymore. There's a saying when you get on the airplane, before you help the person beside you, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Right? So what do you need? Because you're there trying to help other people. You're there trying to get work done. You're there trying to look after your family or your partner, whatever it is. But what do you need to do to get your game on? To get yourself to a more resourceful place, right? And that's both, and this is a deep one because it's in this moment, what do I need to do right now? Maybe it's closing my laptop and taking a walk outside for 15 minutes and just looking at a tree or at the river. Right? What do you need to do to look after yourself? Because our society is go, 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 and go faster, and go, 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 go. And sometimes between morning and when we go home, we've never even taken a moment to just to breathe for a minute. So this is where you can do things on your own to get your game on. I know with our work with leaders, it's about a lot more than that. It's about meditation practices. It's about looking after, all aspects of our being. And that might be the bigger picture that you're starting to go, well, wait a second. And you look at your life and say, maybe I need to pay a bit more attention, but how I can do a better job looking after myself so I can get my game on, so I can give my A game to the world, my A game to my kids, my A game to my partner, right? Okay. So, yeah, we're not going to journal. We're just going to go here to, actually we'll do this. What I'd like you to do, again, this is a meetup. So this is your second really, really big meetup. Whoops. Let's do it this way. Meetup chance. What I'm going to ask you to do is to, we're not going to journal, but I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to give you the instructions, then I'll say go. You're going to stand up. You're going to get into pairs. Again, I invite you to talk to someone different. And you're going to share, how do you think your life will change? How do you think your life will be in 1 year if you actually put this roadmap to success into practice? What do you think might change in your life? All right, 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I'm going to ask 1 or 2 people to share. What do you think would change? What's your sense of this? Someone to share? Got the funny cube here. All right, great, thank you. So the question is, what do you think will change if you put this into practice?
Yes, if I do get my game on, certainly I'll reduce the amount of resistance I feel towards the struggle, the suffering that I'm creating internally. I think that's my biggest takeaway from what I'll get. But it'll also make me live life a bit more fuller. I will take more conscious effort to connect with people, look at my surroundings, be a little bit more conscious of what's happening around me. And obviously the exercises that we did today is about the mindfulness breathing and all of that. So that just brings you into your essence. So that's what it'll do for me.
Yeah, great, thank you. Would someone else like to share?
I've recently started like a change of career, change of direction, working for myself. It's exciting, but also terrifying. So I feel like practices like this are going to help me. Actually, I feel like I have more courage because I've recenter and stay more centered. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, everyone take your seats. Just do some closing and we'll do a couple of questions. So just to summarize, like, yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. I'll just keep going. You know what I was going to say? Oh my God, that's amazing. The advantage of having 2 people.
Okay. So just putting this into practice, like practical, everyday, how does this affect my life? And if you look at those red arrows, what's happening every moment is we're allowing other people to disempower ourselves. Like we're getting disempowered by situations that are happening in our life, people happening in our life. So if you think about in an organization, we all have some frustrations, leadership is doing this, or we have to get things done and it's not happening the way we want to. When we get angry and frustrated, we're taken out by the system, and then the system wins. And so what we're helping you to understand here is don't allow yourself to get taken out. You know, find the tools that will help you to overcome the anger and the frustration or the sadness or not feeling in control or, you know, whatever's going on with you, something that will help you get you back in a resourced place where you can get back in the game and you can make successful moves and decisions from a place of real clarity, where you're not emotionally charged, you're not emotionally upset. And this is the path to your success. It's taking back the control, taking back your power, and not allowing the system to take you out. So that's the whole gist of the talk.
Great, thank you, Audrey. All right, so the hero's journey. We're really moving from a traditional way of functioning that's been dominant on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years, so it's not your fault, right? But this is kind of our default of society: unaware, blame, pressure, overload, urgency, fear, command and control. It's becoming aware. Someone used the word mindful, right? So mindfulness, the most important part, is you're mindful of your inner state. You're mindful of your self-deception. So that's really about how to put, you know, mindfulness or awareness into practice, taking responsibility, creating a learning culture, excitement, and safety in leaders at all levels. So this is how we create a shift of culture, shift to a better work environment, better family environment. So we've actually mapped out this whole journey from traditional organizations to evolutionary ones or teal ones or whatever you want to call this, the future of work. And like there are all these layers. This is what we do. This is this is our work, is how do we go on this journey? And so this self-deception was like at this very basic part of moving from denial, unaware, distortion into unlearning, aware, conscious of what's happening, right? Taking what's in the subconscious, becoming conscious of it. So it's a kind of, it fits in right here in the foundation of everything we need to create a better future. So agile and other new ways of working sit over here. And our organizations and the leadership, especially top leadership, are over here. And that's what we need to start navigating, being aware of. So this whole thing of, this is our work in the world, is have the Shift 3.14 Evolutionary Leadership Framework, which is the framework that tells us how do we go on this journey? How do we make this shift? And we're just giving you a little tiny slice of this whole journey. If you want to learn more, there's a QR code here. This is our book, Leading Beyond Change, Wellington's copy, and he just has all these tabs of all the different things that he wants to refer to so he can be a better leader, right? And this is intended, this is the way it was intended to be done, as a field guide for you to show up as a different leader. So you can be aware of those anti-patterns of traditional ways of leading and functioning and what the more valuable ones are that'll create a different outcome. If you're interested in looking and overcoming the distortions in our society about what's happening with our emotional systems, this book actually gives you an experiential journey where you become a scientist and experimentally discover how your emotional system actually works so you can overcome the usual distortions and lies we have in our society around that. So, and again, it's the foundation of great leadership. In-person and virtual, we've got a class in London actually starting tomorrow, and we'll be back again next year, and we'll do a virtual class as well as remote. And this is where we go into a lot of the details of how do we really become aware of our leadership, of how we are impacting others, how we're impacting change in the organization, and how do we start to learn a better choice and start making healthier choices. So at a deeper level, we need to shift how we're functioning, but this course is all about what are the easy things we can do now? What's the kind of like the low-hanging fruit that we can do tomorrow without going on some big, long leadership journey. And beyond that, we also do Residential Academy of Leadership Mastery. This is for people who are ready to really deep dive. So the journey goes on and on. This is what we found ourselves. That's why it's called evolutionary leadership, because it's not a journey that ends. It just continues, and we get to deeper and deeper levels of truth with ourselves, deeper levels of honesty, and the peace that comes with that at each step is better and better and better. And yeah, I know that personally. My level of peace has just dropped down like to a crazy level. Anyway, so we're going to go to Q&A now. So who'd like to open up? We'll just take a few questions, and it could be about application. It could be about whatever is going on for you. Here you go. Yeah, please stand up and then.
Yeah, thank you very much. The connection I'll be making today, right, is around artful self-awareness, self-deception to self-awareness to artful participation, like the sociocracy kind of like line, plus from a coaching perspective, like narrative coaching and like just telling your own story. So I was just curious from a coaching angle, like unconditional positive regard, some of the wording, like challenge or the damage you're causing. I'm just curious about like the choice of some like the language you've used in the model and perhaps some of like the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're in the school of brutal reality, because if we're not in brutal reality, we're in self-deception and distortion and lies. So we're not candy coating anything, we're very direct. The other thing we say, and the reason we don't focus on coaching in our work, is because once you go on your own leadership journey and you've walked through your darkness, then you can help all the people around you. If you're still here in your darkness and you don't really have a lot of self-mastery, no amount of coaching skills or other skills or facilitation skills are going to help you. Like I know, because I was here. I was here. I had lots of skills. I learned lots of stuff. I was super smart, but I was still an asshole, right? It didn't really shift that. So when we actually go on a journey of owning our truth and getting to a place of peace, of openness, of real curiosity and listening and compassion for other human beings, then then we can really coach them, because we walk through our own darkness. So if you want to have the bottom line of that, leadership trumps coaching. Yeah, so coaching is very valuable, though. Most of the value of coaching programs, I highly encourage people to do them, because you get coached. That's 98% of the value of coaching programs, is the time people are coaching you to look at and overcome this sort of stuff. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. All right, someone else a question.
Sorry. Oh, I need to stand up. I was just going to ask, have you got any recommendations? Obviously, when you do this work, you become self-aware, but when you're working with like leaders who are not self-aware, have you got recommendations of how you can treat that situation?
Yes. Brilliant. So the question is, what do you do with leaders and the other people around you who are not self-aware? How do you help them? Well, there's a famous saying, you may have heard it, this is kind of the basis of all of our work, is you can't change anyone else, you can only change yourself, right? So most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, all that energy we try to do to get other people to change, none of it actually works. None of it. And that's what we go to in our, I don't want to plug our course, but that's what we go to in our course. No, I mean seriously, because we don't know how to do it. So where we go is, well, you can change the environment of other people so they change. You can change how you're showing up so they emulate and start copying you. So that you can get other people to change their behavior, but it all starts with us making the first move, and that opens the doors for others. So that's the short answer. Yeah, okay, so yeah, quantum physics. So the quantum physics term, because we're in a quantum world, is the field determines the particle. When we change the field that we're holding people in through our state of being and through what our daily choices are, maybe listening to them, really listening to them instead of talking and then asking for their feedback. That changes the field people are in, and the particles, the people, they're going to respond differently. It's inevitable, but we're so focused on trying to change others and the situation and da-da-da-da-da. We actually make ourselves victims instead of extraordinary leaders. So the door is like right there. Like it's right there, and we can just walk through it. Yeah, super exciting. All right, one more question, then we'll close. It's easier to catch than it looks. I know it feels a bit scary, but it's actually easy.
Yeah, I'm going to stand because my back is sore. The question I have is this technique of sitting down and meditating and centering is really a useful technique. But then how do we use it in our corporate world so that people don't think you're going cuckoos?
Great question. Thank you. So each of you is in a corporate culture. I'll just put that diagram of traditional evolutionary back up. Each of you is your organization's somewhere. And if you're over here, do not do anything like what we did here in this room with people, because they're not ready for it. It won't work. It will not work. It's gonna be too much of a gap. If they're kind of over here and they can jump a little bit and they're open to learning and growth and trying something new, then it'll work, right? So it's about really respecting the people you with. Again, I'll just say this, we're in a traditional system that's had a lock on the planet, and many people are still in lockdown. They're still in lockdown of a very conventional, structured way of viewing the world and viewing reality. And just to be clear, we did not do meditation here. We closed our eyes and breathed and visualized a bit. It's not really meditation. Meditation is something extraordinary and profound that top executives use because they know it's the key enabler of performance. Just like keeping our bodies healthy and eating healthy food and blah, 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 and all sorts of stuff. But you know, like I think about meditation. Does anyone brush their teeth or exercise? Yeah, like 100 years ago, nobody did that stuff. No, I mean, like exercise, it was invented in the 30s. Until then, if you ran around for no reason, you were nuts, right? And our world is still pretty traditional, because if you're meditating, well, you're kind of new age, or maybe, you know, it doesn't conform to the religious norm, or blah, 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 blah. And, you know, I mean, you know, we're living in the US now, and you can't teach meditation in schools because it's like, you know, some other religion. I mean, like, no. It's actually just calming our nervous system down from this crazy busy world we're in so we can actually function. I mean, the really baby starter version you can do is just close your eyes for a minute and breathe and just notice your breathing. That's a really simple way to start stabilizing your nervous system. But there's really powerful technologies for you to get your game on, and you might want to discover some of them and step into them. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been a pleasure meeting all of you. Have a great evening.